Bitcoin inching up just a little bit. We still have the downsloping trend line here. Again, this is going to be short-term resistance at around 86,000. If it breaks through that, we know our level is 92,000. Downside support, which I'm still favoring at some point in the next couple weeks, I still think we tag 74, maybe down to 70,000. I probably start to nibble on a long if it gets down there. Now, some of you guys, by the way, may say, yeah, but if it doesn't get down there, you missed the trade.
Bitcoinzilla stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now, guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoinzilla today and enjoy the new edge. Gareth Soloway explains Bitcoin's potential recovery to $95,000, exploring market trends, investor sentiment, and key catalysts driving this rally. Let's watch him break down the analysis for deeper insights.
We opened with a sharp sell, and then we rallied essentially the rest of the day. This was yesterday after hours. This was pre-market. Here's that tariff, blurb that came out that caused the markets to come in, but we are rallying back. Now, turning our attention to the S&P on the daily chart. This was amazing, folks. You remember yesterday in the game plan, we talked about how this was going to be a pivotal level. In fact, I showed it to you guys on the intraday chart. We were actually at that time right above it or just below it. And I said, watch this level here. Do we close below it or do we close above it on the S&P? Well, you could see at the open, we flushed down. We came in a little bit before rallying back up and closing above. Now, again, for me, this is the pivotal level. So a daily close below this level would be very problematic for the markets. But as long as we stay above on a closing basis, the markets have at least some upside potential back to this level right here. Now, if we flip over to the QQQ, you can see the Qs are actually basically flat to slightly lower here on an intraday basis. But the same sell-off occurred in the early morning when we got that tariff 20% news that came out, or whatever it may be. It was more from inside the administration, not from the president directly. But the markets have crept back up. But if we look at the daily chart, the same thing applied. Look at how the QQQ opened below the line, flush down here, and then recovered to hold above that line. That saved the market for today. And again, as long as we don't have a daily close below that level, I would give a neutral to slight bullish bias to the markets, all right? Just in the very short term. Now, someone was saying to me, Gareth is so bearish, but he was telling us to buy stocks yesterday, on the big gap down. And they were saying, well, how does that make sense? Why is he bearish? But then saying, but go long, Broadcom at the gap down or Google at the 151 level. And the answer is very simple, is that shorter term, you have one bias for short-term trades. And then on the bigger picture, you can have a bigger bias that can be opposite. And this is where a trader comes in, right? A swing trader, a day trader, number one, is just intraday. So, that's even more short term. But a swing trader, you can play these levels.
Bitcoin bulls are preparing for a potential explosive move as the Bollinger Bands indicator signals an upward shift. The leading cryptocurrency experienced a strong rebound from the lower band, quickly reaching the middle band within a single daily candle. Traders had noted that if Bitcoin continues to build momentum near the 20-day moving average, it might set the stage for a further push, targeting the upper band at approximately $88,180. This technical setup hints at a possible 5% surge that could reinvigorate market optimism. Despite this positive signal, caution remains as Bitcoin has not yet fully cleared the middle band. Market observers warn that the current buildup might turn into a bull trap if momentum fades. Nevertheless, a steady accumulation beneath the middle band could rewrite the narrative, paving the way for a significant vertical jump. Bitcoin bulls, buckle up and watch closely as the market evolves for sure today.
Google, all right, what was the level on Google we talked about yesterday? Below 151, right? It got down to about 150 and change, and then look at the bounce that you got. All right, now listen, do I think Google in 6 months from now is going to be lower than it is right now? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't make money on a bounce here on Google back to, let's say, this area or maybe up here. I'm just looking at this chart, and one of the interesting trend lines I see, look at this trend line right here. Look at that trend line. That's a great upside target for Google right now. Pivot high, and pivot high right there. And then, so again, the idea being is if we rally all the way back into that level, I'm going to have to assume there's going to be resistance at around 165. But that's about a 10% move. Now, for me, to make 10%, let's say in 2 weeks, that sounds great to me. I mean, again, a lot of investors, long-term investors in the stock market, we're not talking crypto, we're not talking other things. In the stock market, the general consensus is you want to make 10% a year. Now, the markets, since the Federal Reserve has been stimulating like crazy, has done better than that in general. But in the long term, if you look at the last 50 or 60 years, 10% is kind of your baseline. To be able to make 10% or 15% in a matter of a couple weeks to a couple months is incredible. And that's, again, the point of swing trading, to look at these charts here. But going back to the thought process here, I want to show you guys this. So listen, we have a level that as long as we hold on the S&P, we're back on the S&P chart here, this would be neutral to bullish bias, maybe for upside here. But take a look at this. If we go to the S&P 500 and we go to our monthly chart and we flip to our logarithmic, and I've showed you guys this before, but it's a very powerful chart, all right? This is 1929, all right? This is 1929 before the stock market crash and the Great Depression. This is the dot-com bubble high. And then look at what we just tagged. So when you look at this chart, do you think that in the next, based on this chart, right? I mean, listen, not using emotion. I mean, there's a lot of us who have 401ks that would be like, oh, I really hope the market goes up. But ignore that and just say, based on this historic trend line going back to 1929, almost 100 years ago, would we assume that the mid to long-term market is going down or up? And for me, I would just say down, right? I mean, how do you not at least acknowledge that, right? That it would probably be headed lower, in the very least to this pivot high right here, which is your 2021 high.
Bill Bartlett, an early Bitcoin adopter who bought Bitcoin when it was trading for less than $5, has voiced strong criticism of Michael Saylor's controversial plan. Saylor, known for his bullish stance and significant Bitcoin investments through his company, recently hinted at transferring his personal stash of over 17,000 BTC to an unsendable wallet, an irreversible move meant to permanently remove his holdings from circulation. Saylor argues that this strategy would reduce Bitcoin's total supply and, in turn, boost the value for remaining holders. Bartlett, however, believes that Saylor's plan is a massive mistake, estimating its impact to be worth around $1.5 billion. He asserts that the Bitcoin community does not need such a gift. Instead of locking away to substantial holdings, Bartlett suggests that Saylor could better serve the ecosystem by using his Bitcoin to fund educational initiatives, support banking operations in developing markets, or create remittance services that expand real-world adoption. He recalls the early days when enthusiasts freely shared Bitcoin to help others understand the power of a decentralized system, rather than merely increasing the value of an investor's portfolio. Bartlett also questions Saylor's comparison to Bitcoin's creator, emphasizing that Saylor is not seen as a benevolent leader like Satoshi Nakamoto. His decision, he warns, carries different implications for the network and might hinder growth rather than promote it. Bartlett's stance clearly reflects his belief that Bitcoin should be used to empower communities rather than boost personal portfolios. He sees true value in fostering widespread digital financial inclusion. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.